Good morning and welcome to SEN Stream. Today we're going to cover the modules moving into week 8. We take a look at the feedback that's been collected from mid-semester. We have a think about some distraction-free writing techniques. The British Nutrition Foundation have a seminar worth talking about. We take some questions and hopefully provide some answers. Stay tuned. Guys, good morning. Welcome to episode 8 of the SEN Stream. I went down the playlist this morning just to see what other royalty-free music we could get our hands on, and massive beats, amazing. I don't frequent nightclubs, but maybe sat in a room in a lonely building in the middle of London is my thing. Would get some fat beats on. I had to borrow some headphones this morning as well because I've left mine in the office, but never mind. So good morning, welcome. What are we going to be talking about today? As I've said, we're going to go through the modules as we did last time. Just see what's going to be happening as we look ahead to week 8. I've got some stuff looking at the mid-semester feedback. We're going to talk about some distraction-free writing techniques just because it was a thing that I came across this week. We'll have a look at the tweet of the week, which is kind of linked to that. And then I'll take some questions on the chat. As I say, the chat is open at all times. So if you've got anything, even if it's not about the thing that I'm talking about that particular moment in time, that's fine. Just ask away and I can try and address it before we move on. I'm just going to take my headphones off because I don't need them anymore. Okay. So let's take a look at the modules before, so we can go from there. So we're going to start with Research Methods for Health Sciences 1. So this is with Teddy. He's just asked polite reminders to those students: if you haven't chosen your country of interest for your coursework 2 SPSS dataset, please get in touch with them as soon as you can. There is instructions available for you on the Blackboard site as well, so that you can go ahead and download your dataset so you can actually undertake that assessment. I believe you need to have a look at the instructions when you do that, so just take your time and make sure you do it right. He's also said, congratulations, well done for submitting coursework 1. I gave Liza a help divvying up the students. So we don't know who you are because you're all anonymously submitted, but you'll have a submission ID. So we've now distributed those submission IDs to the different tutors who are going to be marking that assessment so they can start working on that over the coming days and weeks. Teddy's going to be providing you with a little bit of clarification. He might have done that yesterday, I'm not sure. But a little bit more clarification on coursework 2. So that'll be either yesterday, so great if you've already got it, on potentially next week. I'm not sure, it wasn't hugely clear on the instructions he sent through, but let me know either way. Now that you've got rid of your coursework 1, he's highlighted that he's going to make a few more SPSS statistics kind of exercises available to you, so that you've got a little bit more headspace on that module and you're not stressing out about the CASP assignment, that you can start applying the different statistical techniques that you've been using. So check out that on Blackboard and start working through those exercises so you've got an extra opportunity to just really hone those skills. And just as a reminder, I've kind of already mentioned this, but Jessica was doing some extra tutorial sessions on that Tuesday morning with regards to concepts and principles, but this is now going to be taken over by Teddy. So there will be an additional hour SPSS tutorial each Tuesday between 10:30 and 11:30 in CLG 08. So if you want to get a little bit of extra help, a little bit of extra insight, get yourself across to that session and it should help you continue on with that module. Let's move it on. So we're on to nutrition and performance. Again, Jane likes to tell you well done, and it's nice. It's good to be told when you've done something great. So she said that you did a really good job on the anthropometry practical. You had a lot to cover, and you got through it pretty quickly, which is good. Next week, you will have Dr. Brad Elliott. He will be building on what you've already done in your protein timing. So Brad's got a special interest in muscle physiology. So more of a muscle physiology from how can we age well, but in order to age well, we kind of need to hold on to a lot of our muscle a lot of the time. So he will be talking you through a session there. I thought some of you might not have actually met Brad so far. So if I just make myself a little bit smaller so you can have a look at this. You can see here, I've just posted a link. So if you go onto the university webpage, or go onto the internet and type in google.co.uk, and then you put in Dr. Bradley Elliott, you will see his staff page. You can take a look there. Also, he's on Twitter. He's on @brads_science. You can go and take a look at some of the things that he's saying on there as well. So good session to have. Great guy to have talking for you. So get yourselves along to the session and get involved as always. There's no practical session moving into this week. However, it is a tutorial aimed at helping you with your ICT assessment. So Jane has kindly asked if you can bring along some lecture notes so you can practice writing answers to questions. So you'll have your materials in front of you. You'll have a look at some of the the ICT being in-class test. So for your in-class test, you'll have some short answer questions, some long answer questions that you'll be able to practice writing with Jane. And get some feedback from her as well, because that's always good to know that you're going in the right direction. Let's move it on. Next module. I believe this is practitioner skills, yes. So Sanjoy will be taking the session next week, and he will be looking into ethics and doping in sport. He'll be releasing a little bit more information with regards to your next assignment this week on Blackboard. So make sure you just keep an eye out on your emails for any announcements, and then make sure you get across to the Blackboard site just to double check what the information is on that assessment. And then to cover up with that as well, next week's session, there will be a portion of that session which is specifically dedicated to just talking about the assessment and what is required. So I think need to encourage you guys now to start. You've got a few assessments in the bag now. You've been through the process. So I think it will be a case of just making sure we show you where the assessment materials are, guiding you in the right pathway, and then it will be about you thinking about and applying your knowledge accordingly so that you can undertake that assessment. So at master's level, I think there's a tendency for people to think there's a right and a wrong way of doing these things. And in some ways, there's better ways of doing things, don't get me wrong, but it's about giving you the flexibility and giving you the opportunity to excel as well. If you can excel in an assessment, that means you've thought not in a novel way, you've applied some innovative thinking, and those things don't necessarily come from just speaking to your tutors. They can come from your own reading, from your own insight, and your own interpretation of a question. Because at the end of the day, my exposure to sport and exercise nutrition will be different from yours. So do take the opportunity to think, well, how can I apply myself to this assessment, and try and think about doing things in a slightly different and innovative way. And it's that innovation, it's that different thinking that's actually going to push you into the higher brackets, because it will differentiate your mark from the others in your class. So don't be afraid to go out there, is what I would say. Our external examiner for the entire course is very keen to ensure that you guys do that. So I'm simply relaying that message to you guys as well. Let's have a look at concepts and principles. So Claire had mentioned she was going to be doing a practice test again for mid-semester. Now, Claire's an exceptionally busy woman. She runs more modules than most staff you will encounter, and she also has some higher college roles. So she's disability tutor for the entire College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which is a massive undertaking. So she'd asked Jessica if she can give her a bit of a hand with getting some of that material to you guys so that you can start practicing the questions again. She's been fielding lots of questions about the critical reviews, which in some ways is good, but as long as they're on the discussion boards, that's great, because then everyone can see them. Again, try and avoid emailing tutors directly, because it's not hugely helpful for the tutor or for you either. You wouldn't be able to see the questions asked by other members or by other people on the course either. So that's why the discussion boards are a really good forum to use. You also, later on this afternoon, will have me talking about energy balance. So hopefully we'll see lots of you in the session. I was surprised, genuinely shocked as to how many faces were in the small lecture theatre. I unfortunately don't have the honour and privilege of teaching in some of the large lecture theatres, because it turns out not that many people are interested in what I'm saying. I don't know why that is, but there we are. I'm kidding, obviously, but the modules I run tend to be a little bit smaller because they're a bit more niche. So then to see a wall of faces in there was actually super intimidating and scary. And I hopefully get to see that again this afternoon. So thank you for turning up, and I hope to see you this afternoon as well. Following that session, Claire will be doing some case studies in tutorials. So these are designed to see how you could maybe apply your knowledge to different dietary guidelines and try and then answer specific dietary or nutritional needs questions off the back of them. So if that isn't a big enough sell for the session this afternoon, I don't know what is. So I hope to see you all there. And we can go on from there. So just to continue on with concepts and principles, there's been quite a lot of requests. So just to give you a bit of context for the course, okay, so concepts and principles is one of those joint modules. So you've got the GPHM students and you've got the SEN guys in there as well. Practitioner skills is much smaller. So when Sanjoy, for example, does the really nice thing of having one-to-one sessions with you guys, it's because we can do that on the sport and exercise nutrition specific modules, simply because there's not nearly 70 of you. There's more like 22 on each of the modules that you would sit. So it's a little bit more feasible, and that's where we can give you that kind of one-to-one help when it's required. Whereas concepts and principles, Claire has got about 70 people on that module, and to have one-to-ones with all them whilst running 3 other modules and doing all this other mad stuff that she does, it's going to be tricky. So that's why the discussion boards are useful and helpful for Claire, because she can then try and streamline requests that are made. Just a reminder that next week your critical reviews will be in, so that's excellent. You can tick that assessment off the list and continue to move forward throughout the semester. And then again, Claire has made a suggestion for you here, which is nice to see, that because you'll have a little bit more headspace because you won't be doing that assessment anymore, she's encouraged you to come and have a look at some of the case studies using the food-based dietary guidelines and some of the case studies to see how requirements can be reached when food availability is limited or bioavailability compromised, for example, allergens, illnesses, or impact consumers, for example. So you'll have Claire exclusively next week, which is good. She's promised to put up some in-class test preparation in this session as well. So lots to talk about on concepts there, but get yourselves into this session. See you this afternoon. It will be a good one to have. Let's move it on. I think we've covered all the modules there. Okay, excellent. We're on to tweet of the week. Now, I've been self-indulgent. I apologize, but my tweet of the week this week is from a guy called Mike L. Newell, at Mike L. Newell. And I posted this. I've seen a few of you. I mean, my engagement, my social media engagement is hilarious at times, but there we are. So let's pop this up here. We can see here, Mike L. Newell said, enjoyed reading this small insight. We'll be sharing it with the University of Westminster MSc SEN students. Here it is, guys. So I came across the book. So one of my personal interests, if you like, is looking at how you can be efficient when you do writing, because your academic tutorials and the staff member that stand in front of you will be absolutely and utterly confident in the areas that they talk about. But one thing that isn't discussed very well is the pressure, the requirements, and the need for you to get some decent writing done at all points in your career. So I came across a book, which is written by Helen Sword, and it's essentially a book around about how you can be efficient and write well, but it's based off the back of hundreds of academics across the world who have varying degrees of success, but usually pretty successful. And they talk about their own personal experiences with writing. And I thought, well, you guys are doing a lot of writing at the moment, and you will probably feel the same. So on that tweet, I don't want to do any of this. Let's get rid of that. On that tweet, take a link. It's a really short article, but it gives you some insight as to what people value when they write, and also some of the hesitations that people have. But if you can see here, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but you can see some people see it as like an artisanal experience or activity, similar to pottery or woodwork. Most people, however, I would probably say recognize this statement more. It's mostly pain. Let's be honest about it. It's grueling. Torture is too strong a word, but it's hard. It's draining. I agree, it is, and you guys will feel the same. Now, if you continue reading down this, she then presents you with these two different contrasting things. So here's the viewpoint of a PhD student saying essentially that, they have to get it all down on the paper. It's all messy. The draft's a nightmare. They have to spend ages reformatting the whole lot, and it's just a painful experience. And then they speak to the supervisor of the PhD student, and funnily enough, they say the exact same thing, that they get it all down on the paper. Then they spend hours, days, weeks reformatting it, getting the sentences in the right way, shortening it out, making it concise, making it readable, making it accessible and interesting. That's the difficult bit. But the primary difference between the two situations here is that the PhD student doesn't have a lot of experience in writing and understanding that process. They feel that, and they look at their supervisors and go, gosh, look, these guys are just smashing out papers left, right, and center. Their prose is just falling off the end of their fingers. And the reality is that their supervisor is doing the same. It's just that they've been doing it a lot longer, and they actually acknowledge and appreciate that that is just a simple part of the writing process. So it'll give you some sense of hope that, the people that stand in front of you go through the same processes. It's part of being a human, and that writing is not an easy pastime. So take a look at the tweet, have a look at that short article. There's a book off the back of it as well, but I'm not endorsing it. I've not even bought it myself, but just giving you context as to where it came from, and hopefully you'll find it helpful. So moving on, and in some ways a little bit linked to it, I've got some extra discussion points on that. But before I move on, maybe we should have a look. So no questions on the chat, which is potentially a good thing. I'm not sure. If you've got anything, then do let me know. This is just, I didn't realize, I forgot I'd put this here. This is just what I just read out there, but take a look at it and read it when you get a spare moment. I thought I'd touch on this topic of distraction-free writing. So part of the writing process is literally getting stuff on the page. So I've talked about about students in general, PhD, MSc, undergraduate, whatever, and staff members. So experienced academics who've been writing is in some cases their entire job, who still find the process grueling, daunting, upsetting, just hard work. So I fall into that category. I find it difficult as well. And one of the biggest things for me is not being distracted when I'm doing the work. And that can come from, and usually for me on a day-to-day basis, it's from my email, because that's where I find out information from other staff members. I find out what's going on in the university and what they want me to be doing. I get emails from students so that they're requesting help or support, or wanting a meeting or want to discuss a project with me, and that's all fine. That is a large part of my job, and it's a part of my job that I really enjoy. The problem is that it does not facilitate me getting words down on a page, and as such I do tend to need to kind of completely detach from everything. And this idea of distraction-free writing is kind of key for me. So I've just put these images here because for most people as well, a mobile phone is the devil when it comes to being distracted. So notifications, software, social media that is specifically designed to increase your engagement at any given time. Not how good your engagement is, but the amount of time that you spend engaging on that program. They spend a lot of time making sure that you guys do that, or people in general do that. Again, similarly, when you go onto a computer, all of the distractions that are available to you are next level. So you're competing with this in order to get your work done. So what do I try and use? Well, I came across this thing a few days ago because I go through these little weird obsessive phases where I just go into a topic and then I get lost. And I came across this Hemingwright thing, and then I looked up the price and it was insanely expensive. So this is like this weird little briefcase thing. But it doesn't, it connects to the internet so you can save your work, but you can't go on a browser, it can't do anything other than type. So it's got this nice mechanical keyboard on it. The trouble is it costs a small fortune. So I was thinking I do all right, but I'm not doing that well. I've got a childcare and all that sort of stuff to deal with. So I came across some other apps. So here's some apps whereby, and I've got an example here. I haven't actually opened it yet, so let's open that up now. OM10. Obviously I can't find it. Just one second. Oh, here we are. Run. Now, this could do untold things to my computer before I do this. Right. Sorry about this. Here we go. So, I decided to look up some different types of software. So you've got Focus Writer, Write Monkey, OnWriter, Open Calmly Writer. So these are all online software, which basically takes your computer and it takes off all of the background, it takes off all notifications and allows you to just have a single page in front of you that you can't format, that you can't change the size of the text, you can't stress out about any of those things. Some of them don't even have a spell checker so that you don't have to get distracted by the red wriggly line of doom. So you can just get some words down on the paper, and it takes away any desire or need to restructure or to do anything, and it generally works pretty well. Now, when I look up during a lecture and I see what computers people are using, I just see apples everywhere. So there's some of these are more appropriate for Windows browser or Chrome browser, for example, and others are a little bit more suitable for OS. So go and have a look. But the one I use in Windows is called Q10. Now, if I'm honest, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to share this with you because it's a program that's stuck in a window. I didn't envision this when I thought I would show you this. Nevertheless, I could probably show you Calmly on the desktop instead. Calmly Writer. Here we go. Let's have a look at this one as an example. So I've just gone on my browser. It's free, which is a winner. You can pay extra if you want to. Now you can see here that here's my cursor. I can start typing. There's a nice typewriter sound for those who are a little bit nostalgic. But I can go onto the toggle screen full screen view, and suddenly all of my applications, my notifications, everything has gone, and it just allows me to start writing. And that's, for me, excellent. And I would recommend that you do the same, because sometimes you just need to get it down on paper. Then you can do all the faffing about that you do with the formatting, making it look decent, making sure your sentence structure is decent, reordering text and things like that. But until you get the words on the page, it can be quite challenging and difficult to get there. I've just seen a question come up, so we'll address that now. But my advice to you is, if you're struggling in your own courseworks to get stuff on the page, or you don't know where to start, these distraction-free writing tools can be quite useful. So go and check them out, is what I would say. Now, let's go over to the chat, because I've just seen a question has popped up. Let's have a look. So Vicky Newbold has said here, "Hi Mike, would you know when the BPAT decision will be made? Thanks." So the BPAT applications have now closed. So the applications finished last Friday. I switched off the responses from there. I believe we got 7 applications. So they'll be going ahead to Helen Lloyd, who's the laboratory manager, who essentially looks after the BodPod assessment, the client-facing BodPod assessment stuff. I haven't actually spoken to her yet, but she has access to the form, and she knew we were closing the applications on Friday as well. So I'll take it away from today's session, Vicky, that to find out when Helen's going to make a decision on the people that have applied. So if you put an application in, thank you very much for doing that. We will be in touch with you directly soon. I don't want to put a time on it because it's not me who's going to be making the decision on that. So leave it with me, and we can go from there. But thank you for your question. Okay, let's head back over to the slides and have a look. Okay, so some of you will have noticed that I put out an announcement on Blackboard with regards to the British Nutrition Foundation, who have a free, I'll take it, a free seminar which will be streamed, and we love a bit of streaming here, which is the prebiotic potential of our diets, fiber and more. Which the fiber and more bit for me in that title is super ambiguous. It makes me want to watch it even more. So first, if you are, so the good thing here is that it's between sessions. So you'll have Teddy in the morning, and then if you were super keen, you could have your lunch whilst watching this free webinar, and then move into Sanjoy's session after that. I was considering asking whether folk would be interested in having a joint room, so I can book a room, and then we could have the seminar cast in the room, so that we have a bit of a central meeting point for everyone, because I know The part-time year 2 students will be in the morning and I think afternoon session, I can't remember, but you guys will be there as well. It just means that everyone could get together, bring your lunch with you, learn something about some prebiotic potential of our diets. I'd suggest bringing a high fiber meal with you, because otherwise it's going to look out of place. No processed stuff, stuff like that. But let me know in the chat if you're watching. Do you want a room? Vicky Newbold, a room would be amazing! ! If anybody else is keen, let me know. I can book one. Obviously, there's no. You don't have to come. It would just be a come along if you want to. Bring your lunch, have a chat with some pals. But let me know if you're interested. Even if you see me in the corridor and go, yeah, Mike, that's a great idea, and then I can get something booked. Okay, moving on. I've run out of slides, which means I have nothing left to say, which is possibly a good thing for you guys. So let's head back over to the chat. If you've got a question, guys, now is the time to ask it. It could be about anything, even if I need to redirect it. So here we go. Ted Roundtree, course representative number 1 for the full-time course. Keen. Dakota, yes, please. Antonia, keen. I think there's an exclamation mark there as well. Magdalena, yes, would be great. Guys, I will get on it and get back to you via an announcement or via an update on the SEN stream next week. Evangeline, our other full-time course rep. Now, some of you caught me in the corridor yesterday, and I said, and Ted rather cunningly corrected me, that I'd like to get you all on SEN stream at some point. And obviously, as Ted pointed out, that ain't going to work because no one would be watching it. So what I actually meant was to have a schedule of students coming in with maybe a topic of interest that they'd want to talk about. So the room in here is pretty big. There's enough space to get somebody else sat next to me. You get your own mic, and we'll do a bit of an interview on maybe a topic of interest of your choice. So if I'll put it out there, if I think people will have to sign up to do this, because I know not everyone's keen to sit here in front of a camera and lights and all the rest of it. And as you notice, I rarely look at the camera because I am embarrassed, to say the least. But yeah, I think it would be good to get you. So I'm going to start with the course reps first, just so we can have a bit of a chat about some of the feedback. So I've intentionally not spoken about the feedback yet, simply because I've asked Evie and Ted to have a look at the full-time course attendance stuff. They've put together a nice little summary of the key things that have come up, the kind of common issues that are across the feedback that's been provided by the full-time guys. The same with Sinead. She's taken the opportunity to condense some stuff for the part-time year 1 students. And I'm just waiting on Francesca to come back to me with the part-time year 2 feedback as well. So once that's together, I think it would be good for getting you guys on, if you're keen, no pressure, to talk about some of the stuff that's been raised. And then maybe we, by this point, the staff, as in me and the rest of the teaching team, will have the opportunity to see if we can try and address some of those concerns that you guys have got. So hopefully that makes sense. If there's any questions, now's the time, because I'm about to wrap it up. A short stream today, but I feel like they've been getting way out of hand of late. The final thing I think I would say about the stream is that I do try and think of novel and interesting things for you guys to get presented with. So things that you wouldn't get necessarily on your modules, for example. It's like the distraction-free writing stuff. It's a small topic, but it could actually dramatically help you get your next assignment done a little bit quicker, with a little bit more quality involved in your writing, for example. But if there's specific topics, like I got a lot of feedback on the mid-semester stuff. So again, I've read all of the feedback that's been presented because I like to get a good landscape of what's going on. The course reps have just narrowed it down into important things. But if there's topics or issues or areas that you want me to expand on, send me an email and I will try and put something into a schedule. Similarly, if you'd like to do a thing yourself, let me know and I'll invite you across and we can do something for all the students to benefit from. So I think, guys, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. Hopefully we'll have Ted and Evie here next week. Ted and Evie, I'm going to invite you, so expect it. If you can try and portion out next Thursday to be here a bit earlier, that would be excellent. And then we'll get the part-time year 1 and year 2, Sinead and Francesca, in after that to talk to you guys as well. So If there's no other questions, I will call it a day there. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all this afternoon to talk about energy and energy balance. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.